Hi, my name is Jacob Turner. I'm a senior here at Valencia High School, and tonight I want to introduce you to a high school junior named Cameron Lee. Now, Cameron was the perfect student you could ever ask for. I mean, he had the perfect 4.0 GPA, his SAT score placed him in the 1 percentile in the nation, and he was an all-star athlete, breaking records and winning championships. But he understood, and his parents understood, that if he wanted to go to Stanford University, his #1 choice, that simply wasn't enough. Because let's face it, a 4.0 GPA, I mean, who hasn't? A 1530, well, there are some people who got 1600s, and being only good at one thing simply wasn't enough. So when Cameron started hearing from his senior friends that he heard that they weren't getting accepted to the prestigious universities like Harvard and Stanford and UCLA, it rose a red flag. If they weren't getting in, they had a higher SAT score than even Cameron, and were involved in a lot more extracurricular activities, and were good at them than even Cameron was. What did that say about Cameron's future? Cameron's pressure was never more intense. I mean, it's something his parents couldn't even understand. And so when Cameron told his parents a few days later that he had to go work on a group project at a friend's house and would be coming home late, instead, he would actually be going down to the train station. And when no one was looking and it was pitch black at 11 o'clock at night, he stepped down to the train tracks, and those 2 large yellow balls of light on the train was the last image he saw before his life ended, just like that. Now, Asian parents have this perceived formula that as long as you get the good grades and the good standardized test scores and have the most polished college essays, you're going to get into anywhere you want to, especially these colleges. But simply that isn't the case. You see, the Harvard affirmative action case trial has been circulating in the news within the past year or so. And if you don't know what that is, that's basically a bunch of Asian American students called Students for Fair Admissions suing Harvard and other Ivy League institutions of having an unequal and unfair admissions process. Now, until recently, we really didn't know what goes on behind those admission office doors. But for the first time, we actually now even have a general idea. Basically, there's 4 aspects of evaluation. There's academic achievement, athletic achievement, extracurricular involvement achievement, and personal qualities. Now, we can set aside athletic achievement for now because let's face it, they're not going to be going into Harvard or Stanford because they're the best basketball players. But we can definitely take a look at the other 3 categories. So basically, the candidates are scored from 1 through 6, 1 being the highest, 6 being the lowest. And after a group of evaluators has given a score for each of these categories, they're given an overall score that has nothing to do with the composite or an average of these scores, but rather simply how the institution feels about that candidate. And basically, if you score anything less than a 4, if you score anything more than a 4 in any of these categories, the chances of you getting admitted are virtually. And it would look something like this. So now let's take an example. This past fall, 3 Stanford early decision applicants put their best effort into their student applications to Stanford University, and yet all of these 3 students got rejected. I mean, you can see that they're clearly qualified. I mean, they have one of the highest GPAs in their schools, they have great SAT and ACT scores, and they're involved in a lot of stuff, and they took really rigorous classes. I mean, one student even got a perfect score on her ACT, and then when she didn't even have to take another one, she went back and took the SAT, and still got a perfect score, but she still got rejected. Yet, at the same time, something like this is happening. You can see on the left column that this is student A, and clearly he or she has been maintaining their grades in really rigorous classes, has really good standardized test scores, and has really great extracurriculars and been involved in a lot of stuff. But yet, student A is getting rejected while student B, with significantly less merit and less activities, is getting accepted. So why is this? Why is this exactly happening? So a lot of news organizations, and after further research has been done, says that Asian American students should be really furious and about them not being accepted. And why is this? Well, it turns out that most of these universities are scoring extremely low for Asian American students based on personality traits or their personal quality score. They're claimed to be too boring, too bland. Their essays and interviews sound too Asian and simply isn't really that special. But yet, other minority students aren't held to the same standard. So, why is this happening, and what is exactly wrong with this? Look, I'm all for equal opportunity, but that doesn't necessarily mean that we need to have an equal, necessarily, set of diversity and ethnic groups. What makes Harvard Harvard or Stanford Stanford isn't the diverse ethnicity that they have. I mean, any school I walk into, I can see that there's going to be some sort of mixed group of students. But what makes Harvard Harvard and Stanford Stanford and these prestigious universities that stand out from the rest of the pack is simply this. They're able to have and recruit the best minds in the country, and if not, the world. Simply put, these universities should not be striving for ethnic diversity, but rather diversity in thought. How well can students respond to problems, and how well can they think outside the box? That's what makes them different. So when you simply take a step back and look at this from a bigger picture, you see that it isn't about belonging every minority into a jam-packed session and have a really equal opportunity and an equal student body. That's not what makes them them. What makes them them is a diversity of thought. Having the right minds belong to the right institutions. Thank you.